Have you ever wanted to make a blaster? Well, want no longer. I will teach you how on today's episode of Star Wars Nerds and Geeks. So first off, a disclaimer, I'm not a chemist, a physicist, an engineer, I'm not a specialty in guns and everything else that I would need to be to actually know how to do this. So take everything I do with a grain of salt. And second off, this is all from space opera, so there's a high likelihood that most of the information is just completely made up and it doesn't even make logical sense. And then third, it's a laser gun. We don't know how to make laser guns. It just doesn't exist in our world, so probably will not work. So don't go into your backyard and try and create one. But if you do go in your backyard and try and create one and you do successfully create one, hats off to you. I'm impressed. And please share it with me. I would be super excited to see that. But this is just, I don't think that'll actually happen. This is, just for fun. But I'm going to use the information that I talked about in the last video on how blasters work to try and teach you how these blasters are created and how we would create them in our own world. And of course, this is all just based off of what a Star Wars blaster is like, not what it would realistically be like. That's enough terms and conditions. Let's talk about how you can actually make this theoretically, of course. So first, you're going to need two materials. You're going to need the material for the weapon, and you're going to need the gas that you shoot. So the weapon should be made out of a material that has high resistance to heat and is also able to cool easily because it's going to be subject to a lot of heat. So you don't want it to just deform on you and suddenly like the top of the weapon is just drooping down because it melted because of such high heat. And then it also needs to cool easily because, like I said, it's really hot and you don't want the barrel to be burning because what if you touch it? Ouch, it's going to hurt. And then the gas. The gas needs a few special properties. So the gas in Star Wars is Tibana gas. That's what's mostly used. And Tibana gas, well, it is highly explosive. So you're going to want something like that. And second, in Star Wars, they use electromagnetics to pull the gas along. So you need a gas that once ionized, it can be pulled along through electromagnetics. Like I said, I'm not a chemist, so I don't actually know what those properties would be. But that's what you would need. You would need a gas that after it's ionized, after all its electrons are taken away, I think that's what ionized means, the electromagnetics are able to pull it along. Besides the science fiction material for the weapon and gas, you're going to need first a cartridge or a magazine for the gas. Then you're going to need a actual little cartridge inside of the weapon for the gas. Then you're going to need a way to release that gas and control the release. You're going to need to have some circuitry to be able to control how much you release. You're going to need to have something to ignite the gas. You're going to need to have electromagnets, which will speed up the gas. And that's kind of all you need. And if you are going to be making a blaster using these steps, which I say do not do that, please do not do that. But if you are, then you should watch to the end of the video before creating the blaster, and so that you know all the steps and you know all the materials you need, because I might have missed a few. And then go back and watch the video and follow the steps. Now it's time to construct your weapon. So first off, take the material for the blaster and you're going to create a little shell for it. Shell can be pretty much however you want it to be, but make sure that A, it's able to hold all the components, and B, that it's kind of gun looking, because guns look a certain way because that's like the best way for them to be created. So if you need inspiration, I'd say look at the DC-15E. Look at this picture that I'm pulling up, just because the DC-15E is a really incredible blaster. I love it. Alright, but now creating it. So first what you're going to want to put in is the circuitry. And this circuitry is going to be what controls the gas and how much gas is being released at a time. And so you just need to put this in and make sure you have ways to access it, to change the values and whatnot. because you're going to want to experiment to see how much you should release at a time. And then second, you're going to want to you're going to need to put in actually 2 long tubes. One that's not so long of a tube, that'll go from the gas relief valve all the way up to the expansion chamber. And then you'll need one that goes from the expansion chamber through the electromagnets all the way up to the end of the blaster. And if you're creating a blaster rifle, you might have a third one that gets a tiny bit bigger. Alright, so now you're going to want to be putting in the gas. The gas is going to be put into the very, very, very back, and you're going to want to make sure it's completely sealed up. And then you'll put in the little release valve, which allows you to open up and shoot out a certain amount of gas at a time. Connect that up to the circuitry that I talked about before, and bada bing, bada boom. When you press the trigger will tell the circuitry to release the gas from the gas valve, and then the gas valve will open for a certain amount of time, and the gas will come out, and then it will close. So now the gas is being fed into this small little tube, and you have to have the gas, make sure that it's running all the way through there, and it should be running all the way through there because the only direction that it can be going is straight. So it's running through all there, and then you're going to be wanting to put in an igniter, and the igniter is going to be kind of what changes the blaster into a bolt. So the blaster will go through the igniter and the hyper ionizer, and the hyper ionizer is a device that will ionize the gas, and combining the ionizer and the igniter, that will turn the gas into a bolt of energy that will actually do some damage. So ionizer, I don't know much about chemistry, but I do know that ionizing takes a lot of energy. So until you can find a way to make it take less energy, you're going to be wanting to have some sort of battery pack around there, because that'll take a whole lot of energy. And the igniter and the hyper ionizer, how do they turn the gas into a blaster bolt? It's kind of a mystery. And the only thing that I can assume is that when this certain special gas is ionized and then has a bunch of heat added to it or something, like, I don't know, something along those lines, it will turn into sort of energy, if that makes sense. Like it will carry the energy of the heat once it ionizes. Does that make any sense? Probably not, but it's the best I could come up with. So once it comes through there, it goes to the expansion chamber, right? So you're going to want to have an expansion chamber that is kind of in a cone shape, which will allow the gas, actually the bolt now, it'll allow it to expand so that this is probably to make sure that it doesn't blow up once it's ionized and ignited. In the expansion chamber, that's probably where the gas is going to be turning into the bolt. So you're going to want to make that, you're going to kind of experiment to see how long it takes the gas to turn into the bolt, and you're going to want to make sure that you have enough room for it to actually do that. And then you're going to want to have a way for the gas, or the bolt I get confused between the two. You're going to want to have a way for the bolt to be condensed once again to a smaller area. And now it travels through the electromagnetic area. And this is where the bolt is going to be speeding up. So like I said, we need to make sure that the gas, which is now the bolt, is able to be attracted by electromagnets. And essentially what should be happening is it's going at such a speed that the electromagnets will pull on the bolt, and it will be able to fling through them, and the electromagnets will only speed them up, and hopefully it will have enough inertia that they won't pull it down. I'm not sure exactly how electromagnets work, but it's something along those lines. And then you're going to want to, boom, it goes all the way through there, and the bolt is going really, really fast now. And then you have the accelerator, bum, bum, bum. That's kind of the last thing. And this will just kind of push the bolt out of the gun. And like I said in the last video, this is kind of where the gun can end. After the accelerator, it will push it out. But if you're creating a rifle, you're going to want to have a little bit longer of a barrel where it just travels through. And at this point, your gun is finished. So let's just run through the steps really quickly. First, you're going to want to create a circuitry that will control how much gas is released at a time. The circuitry will be triggered by the trigger. Then you're going to want to be putting in 2 tubes that will control have the gas that will be going through them. Then you're going to be wanting to put in the actual gas. You're going to want to have a release valve for the gas that is hooked up to the circuitry that controls how much gas is released. Then you're going to want to put in a little igniter. You're going to want to put in what's called a hyper ionizer, which essentially is used to ionize the bolt, which that combined with the igniter seems to turn the gas into an actual bolt. You're going to want to then put in an expansion chamber, which is connected to the tube that I mentioned previously. And this expansion chamber needs to be long enough for the gas to turn into a bolt. Then you're going to want a way to condense all that, to condense the gas, which is now a bolt, into a smaller state, pull it through the electromagnets. So you're going to want to have a line of electromagnets. And these electromagnets should be, you'll have to experiment again. All this is just kind of, if you're actually doing this, it would be experimenting to see how much you need to make everything work the way you want it to. So these electromagnets, you're going to want to have them, you're just going to want to kind of experiment to see how much you need. In here, it seems like they have, like 6 inches of it. So that's what they have in the DC-15E for reference. Like I said, this is all from a space opera, so it's not really it's not even science fiction. It doesn't really care about the science part of it. But anyways, you need to have a line of those, and you kind of experiment to see, do I need it longer? Because if you put it too long, then the bolt might actually kind of get trapped in the middle because the electromagnets will be pulling back on it. But if you make it too short, it won't speed up enough. So you kind of need to find the sweet spot. And then you get your accelerator, which personally, I keep saying the word accelerator. Honestly, I don't know what the accelerator is. It's just something that will, I guess, push the bolt out of the weapon. So this, I really don't know what it is. It might be something that that kind of just pushes it away from the electromagnet, something that can shoot it out. I keep saying push and shoot. I'm just making up words because I really don't know what it is. But if I had to guess, I would say that it's like a burst of energy of sorts that will, boom, shoot out the bolt. And then if you're creating a rifle, you'll want to give more of a barrel to make it shoot further. And then that's it. That's how you create the circuitry of it. That's pretty much the entire blaster. Next, as you can see in like the DC-15E, and most blasters should have this, you can adjust the power setting. So you'll probably want to hook that up to the circuitry that controls the gas release. And then you should also have it so that you can turn it all the way off and no gas will shoot out. And if no gas shoots out, then all that will happen is energy will flow through it, just pure pure energy that comes from the charge pack that you put into it, and that will shoot out the blaster and create a stun. Alright, so you have your power setting, you have all the gizmos inside of the gun that will make it shoot. Then you're going to want to put a covering over all that to make sure it's all nice and snug inside there. You're going to want to make sure that you have a few different panels that allow you access to the gun. You're going to want to maybe put in like a stock to hold it against your shoulder, or maybe make the grip more comfortable. And at this point, it's just kind of adjusting the weapon to the way that feels right to you. If I were creating one of these, I would create something along the lines of the DC-15E, which has a little stock to put against your shoulder. And then you can also make the grip. The grip on the DC-15E isn't that overwhelming. It's just a little bar. So create something like that to make it not too overwhelming for you. And then it also has the scope. I really like the scope because it's multi-purposeful. I would put this into the design if I was creating the weapon, because the bolt, the scope is able to act as a grip, and since it's kind of separate from the gun, it probably won't heat as easily. So you can hold it as a grip, and then you can also flip it on its side to use as a scope. And that's how you create a blaster according to the way that Star Wars says that you create a blaster. Will it actually work? I'm gonna say no, it probably would not work. Again, if you can, I mean, probably it just won't work, and it'd probably be really dangerous and all that stuff, because we don't have, for now, we haven't found any materials, and we haven't created any materials that'll live up to the materials that a blaster is made out of. And we also don't have any gas that has the specific properties as the gas that a blaster would have. So if you were to create this on your own, more likely than unlikely, you would find that the gas would just explode immediately, or that the weapon would melt, or something along those lines, because we just don't know, we just don't have those materials available to us. But maybe one day scientists will find those materials. Maybe one day scientists will find a gas that has that specific property. And if they do, oh, I hope they come back to this video, because this video will teach them exactly how to create a laser gun. And if you're those scientists from 50 years in the future or whatnot, welcome. This is Star Wars Nerds and Geeks signing off. See you all next time.